Welcome to the Pickleball Recovery Podcast, where we highlight products and practices to help you feel better faster, so you can spend less time stiff, sore, and injured, and more time on the court doing what you love. This podcast is sponsored by AlloMD. Don't just mask pain, eliminate it. AlloMD provides intense relief and advances continual repair for both acute injuries and chronic pain. All-natural, patented technology developed by doctors to get you back in the game fast without the use of opioids, steroids, or NSAIDs. AlloMD, harnessing the power of pure natural ingredients that provide deep, penetrating repair. Patented, validated, natural. Learn more at www.allomd.com and make sure to use the discount code PBR at checkout to save $5 off your order. What's up? Welcome to another episode of Pickleball Recovery. I'm your host, Tim Ringgold. How you doing? Did you play any pickleball today? I am still sidelined. I went out. I went back too soon. No one ever does that, do they? My head was feeling a little better, but what I didn't realize was the impact that the 8 weeks off had on my legs. Boy, did my legs atrophy, and I didn't know until it was too late, and I fell twice the second night I went out and played. I tripped, and I hyperextended my knee the second time, and those are two things that have never happened to me on the pickleball court, and I was playing doubles. So that meant my legs were not ready. They needed work, and so now I am slowly clawing back because, it turns out it's a process, man. My brain's better. It's not 100% though. So I'm still having to manage that, and work has kicked back into like full time. And so I don't have the number of hours a day that I was devoting towards the brain recovery to devote towards leg recovery. So I kind of foresee there's going to be a little bit of slowing down of my progress right now, which is kind of a bummer because I had some great momentum going, and now I'm having to kind of pull back the throttle. And I'm not a guy who likes to pull back the throttle, frankly. So we're just going to have to manage that. Thanks for asking how I was doing, by the way. Yeah. You're welcome for that check-in. But hey, we're all on this journey of managing this miracle of organic material called our bodies, right? And in this episode, you're going to hear a really, really inspiring story from one of our own, APP Pro, MLP Pro, Rob Nunnery, host of It Feels Right podcast with Adam Stone. And you're going to hear about his journey going through injury and rehab and recovery, and how he managed the physical side of that and the mental side of that. Because that's, for me, just as much a struggle is how do I, go about getting back on the horse and, being patient, but also being like pushing myself without overdoing it. How do you strike that balance? And I think balance is what leads us to a healthy, long-lasting career in pickleball, whether it's just social or, recreational, whether it's playing in ladders or in leagues, or it's playing, in tournaments. Too much of one thing causes a problem, too little of another causes a problem, whether that's practice or whether it's rest. You're going to hear Rob's journey. It's incredibly inspiring. I think this guy is just an absolute stud. So I'm excited for you to listen into the conversation we had not too long ago. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and I'll see you on the other side. Rob Nunnery, thanks for joining us on Pickleball Recovery.
Hey, happy to be here.
I'm so happy. At last. As Etta Fitzgerald. There you go. That was fun. Etta James sings so well in her spare time, Etta Fitzgerald would say. We've known each other for a bit, and we are live here in Los Cab, Tennis Village, Pickle, whatever it's called, in Fountain Valley, Southern California. You just had an enjoyable practice round for APP, Newport Beach, whatever it's called.
Yep.
And we are literally using the very gear that you recommended to me when I was just a young cub. with just a bright idea to start my own pickleball podcast. There's a bright idea. It's one thing to start a podcast. It's another thing to maintain a podcast.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part, right?
It's easy to buy the equipment.
It is easy to press send in Amazon. You're about 8 seconds away from, that. Keeping it going is a whole nother story. But alas, here we are.
And you've been able to do it. So props.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. And there was a time when you were a younger man, when you were young and invincible, and recovery wasn't on your radar yet. It's okay.
No.
No.
And I think we probably ran into the same thing of, I didn't play sports for a solid 10 years. As you know, like we both come from kind of the online business world.
Yep.
And I did that for about 10 to 15 years after college and didn't play any sports, and then found pickleball. And I still had that kind of 21-year-old mindset where the 36-year-old body's not capable and also not in shape, but the mind's still right there, right?
Yes.
You pick up right where you think you left off, but your body did not leave off there, but your mind did.
That's it. As the guy in Top Gun said, "You're writing checks your body can't cash."
That's it.
That is very much the truth. I walked out on the court last night for the first time in 8 weeks after a head injury and started thinking it was April.
Yeah.
And my dad warned me. Yeah, my dad warned me. He's like, "Listen, your mind doesn't age as fast as your body. As an athlete, you'll go to do things and you'll think that you move, but you won't move."
Yeah.
And he had a career-ending injury, where he was thinking he was 18 and he wasn't, and his body did something just a half second too slow. And curtains, please, right? I'm thinking back to I remember interviewing Casey Patterson for the pod, and Casey gets on with you the next time you guys record, and he's all fired up about recovery, and you're like, "I cannot be less interested."
I remember I said that to him too. I was like, "Man, I love how stoked you are on this, but I'd rather talk about paint drying or something."
Oh my God, that was exactly it. And you were like, and he had all kinds of ideas. "Guys, bro, send in things that you'd like to hear from us." And you're like, no, Casey, I am unwilling.
No, but it's silly because it's not the podcast. It's not what I like to talk about, but it's super important.
There you go.
And he knows it and you know it. And that's why this podcast is important, because
that's what we do over here.
100%.
That's our lane.
100%.
And as I was coming into the sport, I don't know anything about tennis. So my skills, don't have me teach you a ground stroke, because I am #not tennis.
Not tennis rating.
Not
you got a high not tennis
I have
rating.
a very high not tennis rating.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't know anything about paddles. That stuff makes my head explode. But what I came to understand early on is that the most expensive piece of equipment I own is my body.
Yeah.
And I just was in pain all the time. And I was like, I might stop playing because it might not be worth it. I'm in pain all the time. And then I was like, no, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
There are other guys out there who are crushing it, and let's figure this out and let's go. So I've been on this hero's journey, as they call it, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember starting to hear the crazy stories of your butt. And we won't go into those stories. Folks, if you want to know more, you can go listen to Rob's podcast. He'll tell you all about it. But he's in a soft chair for a reason today.
Yeah.
But you also had a knee injury, pretty much simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So how long were you off the court? Between I'm on the court, I start having symptoms, and then it just seemed like they just piled on each other.
Well, it's funny that we're doing this here at Los Cab, because actually the last tournament I played before everything shut down for COVID was here. It was the California Open at this very facility.
Oh my God.
And I played, the courts have been redone, but I played Tyler Leung in singles on Thursday of that tournament. I think it was March 10th, 2020. And knee was a little shaky. I played my first pro tournament ever in Mesa at the first PPA that there ever was. Okay. And I felt something in my knee then, and I was like, it'll probably be okay. I don't know what it is. I had never dealt with any injury before. Yep. But it was my left knee, my left meniscus. I didn't know it at the time. I thought it may be an MCL or something based on online research. Of course. Because God forbid I go to the doctor.
Online doctor.
And in the match, I lost the first game 16-14. We switched sides. It was 5-2, and then I felt like a pop as I came in and split step, and I was down. I'm like, I'm done. And then knee swelled up really bad, and didn't end up having surgery then, but everything shut down, tournament stopped, so I just rested it. Yep. Rehabbed it myself, got it back to that was March. I started playing again probably in September Like it was a long time out.
Got it.
Because I didn't have surgery. I just tried to rehab it on my own.
Yep.
And it was a meniscus tear for sure.
Yep.
And got back to kind of decent strength, but then fast forward to this past year, 2022, and I started having basically an abscess, which is the butt stuff you talked about.
Yep.
So I didn't know what was going on. It turned out to be these fistulas, which incredibly painful. But before I actually had surgery on that, I was on a ton of antibiotics. So I was on something called ciprofloxacin, which is an antibiotic that helps flush it out, but it also makes your ligaments and joints really weak.
Oh,
so
lovely.
I was probably on it in April of 2022. Went to play the May New York City Open APP in May, and I finished playing mixed doubles for the day. Went down for a deep squat. As I came up slowly,
Yep.
same meniscus, and I saw a flap sticking out. I was like, I don't know what. Like I didn't know what it was. It was like maybe it just came off wrong, but I knew something was off. It's always a funny story. So I hobble over to the tent, the physical therapy tent.
Yeah.
And the guy there is massaging Paris Todd, like she's on her stomach, and he's like deep into her like high hamstrings. I'm like dying. He's like, I'll be with you shortly.
I'll be with you in an hour.
Yeah, I'll be with you shortly. And it was literally half an hour later. And I'm just standing there like in pain, just like looking at him like, come on, man. Like, and then he like examines me. He's like, oh, I thought this was he like does all the tests. And he's like, oh, you should be fine. Come in the morning and I'll tape you if you need to before you play men's doubles. And he's like, when you walked over here, I thought you were I thought it was going to be way worse than that. And then I end up going to Austin, get it checked out. It's like a complex meniscal tear, like pretty bad. And bad enough to where I had to have surgery on it. So I had arthroscopic knee surgery last June.
Okay.
And so I had to miss MLP, which I was on the 5s with Gary V. So I was really bummed. I had to miss the Austin one. And then it just turned out to be where the next MLP was 6 weeks after that Austin one in Newport Beach. That's out right. Here.
In like August
so I was like, yeah, August. So I was like, okay, I have something to work towards.
Yes.
So just head down, recovery, like, literally 3 to 4 hours a day of quad strengthening and like leg lifts, trying to just keep that muscle after the surgery, and was able to get back 6 weeks after surgery and actually play MLP. So that's kind of the full circle. But yeah, it's been super strong since I would say September, October last year. I felt full strength with the legs, and I've just tried to maintain quad strength and not let it become a thing. Do a lot of the knees over toes guy.
Yes.
So he's been super helpful.
Patrick's awesome.
Yep.
He's a stud.
And it's so unorthodox and unconventional, but it's legit.
It is.
Yeah.
That's great. I follow him, and I have his book, Knee Ability Zero, and I remember starting the exercises and my legs like revolting. Like,
you can't do this.
What?
Yep.
This isn't how I work, right? And part of it, I think, was fear because of the programming. All of us of a certain age, we get taught what was known at the time.
Yep.
Right? I was taught to cold stretch before activity. Ooh, I shudder when I say it, right? That was the thing to do. We know differently now. And so much of it is, if you're apprehensive mentally and you're tense and your nervous system tightens up, your muscles tighten up, everything tightens up, and that's where you can get injured. And a lot of it for me has been how to untrain that fear.
Yeah.
Right? You must quiet your mind. I feel like, like I need Yoda somewhere just like talking to me to just like calm me down. I got the jitters. The thing I want to touch on two things. Yeah. So one is, you found like when you had to step away to kind of like rehab your knee, what exercises were you doing specifically that you found for what muscles were you like, oh, I didn't realize I used these this often. I took it for granted.
Yeah.
And then I started to like lose a little function because I was on the sideline, and then this is what I did to get those back.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of aha moment or was it pretty?
No, it was pretty standard of what the doc gave me.
Yeah.
What surprised me though was how much, like how to do what he actually prescribed me to do exercise wise if I would have had like a regular job to go to, there's no way I could have done it. It was literally, I would wake up in the morning, I'd just be in bed, and then I'd do these exercises, like, leg lifts.
Yeah.
It would be quad tightening.
Yeah.
All these, and also flexion to bring it back to try to get that bend coming.
Yep.
And I'm doing like 100 sets of each, and you're going out and you're holding it for like a couple seconds each time. Like if you add up all the time,
Yes.
I'm not kidding. It took 3 to 4 hours every morning of doing it.
I get it.
And I did it, religiously, and I made sure that like that was the focus, and I didn't cheat on it at all. And
Nice.
That's how I got back so fast. But
Nice.
it was shocking to me how long it actually took to do it right.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And I think one of the problems for most of us is we fall into a trap of like, once you know what to do, it's like, oh, I know what to do.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's fine. Do you actually set aside the time? Because the time doesn't appear.
Yeah.
Right? Do you make the time a priority to do what you know? Because it's not rocket science.
Yep.
A lot of it's pretty straightforward. And rinse and repeat. And rinse and repeat, right? But do you set aside that time? Like coming back from the head injury I'm dealing with right now, I'm doing 2 to 5 hours of therapy.
Yep.
7 days a week, nonstop,
Yeah.
right? And it's a whole lot of boredom,
100%.
right? But like, I'm not willing to feel what I've been feeling, and I'm not willing to miss out right?
And I would guess that what's making you stay committed to it is I heard you talk to Dane about it, and you're hoping to come back for Takea.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing for me when I was working. Like if I didn't have a target like MLP
Yep.
in August to work towards,
Yep.
I would have fallen off.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
feel like you have to kind of set some kind of target to keep yourself accountable and have something to work towards where you actually have a target to hit.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like, man, it's too mind numbing to continue to do it without anything, without like kind of that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, 100%. I like thinking about deadlines. I don't really think of them that way because for me, anytime I put something that's time limited out in my future, suddenly it increases my productivity, it increases my focus, it increases my creativity.
Yeah.
Like everything I want is on the other end of a deadline. Like putting something on the
100%.
map, right, in time, like there's a time horizon. It's a fixed date. I can't mess with that date. One of the things I do for fun to keep myself accountable physically is on my birthday, every year, I take a topless picture because the camera don't lie.
Yep.
And August 31st is coming around every summer.
I love that. Yeah.
And I made it public so now I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's
right?
another thing. Public accountability is a big deal.
Public accountability is a big deal. So when you announce or declare something, now people are not only just like expecting you to do it, but they're kind of like rooting for you to do it, supporting you to do it. Some people are kind of challenging you to do it. Like you're
Can't wait to see how big he is.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that beached whale, like, oh, somebody call the earth, whatever, Greenpeace or whoever's going to come save that beached whale. I've never been accused of being a beached whale, more of the chicken legs than anything. But so that's the physical side of it. But there's another side of it that I think is equally important for athletes, which is the mental game. It's that 6 inches between your ears. How you manage that. It's easy to manage that when everything's going well.
Yeah.
That's not hard. It's when you are off-roading in the game of life. Like there was a path, you saw the path, and then life was like, just kidding, detour, right? And you're off-roading and you're trying to get back. When you're off-roading, I think that's what separates the real champions in the world. And one of the things I want to compliment you on is you made it back.
Yeah.
Because like this spring, I'm seeing Instagram posts, APP gold, APB silver. Like you didn't just start playing again. You found a way to win again. And of course, if my listeners, if you haven't seen this, you can go onto Rob's Instagram under his stories or reels. I can't remember which one it is, but you can see the winning shot. The backhand ATP
Oh yeah.
for the gold, where the camera is at the back end.
It's a sick camera angle.
Oh, you must have been so happy because you knew you pulled off one hell of a shot.
Yeah.
And we know that in pickle, there's not always a camera catching everything.
No, not there.
And not there. And that shot from that angle makes it look let's be honest, just even sicker than it was because you just. So you got all the way back. So talk to me to the degree that you're comfortable. I have had some dark nights of the soul over the last 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, I don't know, because the uncertainty of it all, right? Did you find yourself in that along the way between the abscess and the knee, and how did you do battle with that?
Yeah, I mean, after I had surgery last summer, so I had 2 surgeries back to back. The knee surgeon would not do surgery until I had colorectal surgery because I had an active infection.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he was basically like, I can't risk, blood pooling if there's an infection because that could cause all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
So I had to have colorectal surgery first, which was basically like a Band-Aid to kind of help slow down the infection so he could feel safe enough to do the knee surgery.
Right.
And so did that. But that didn't really solve much in terms of the abscess stuff. It was like, like I said, it was a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
So when I got back to Hawaii, I was in Austin basically for a month recovering from both those surgeries.
Okay.
Got back to Hawaii and, was still doing the knee recovery, did some rehab there, but the colorectal stuff was just brutal. Like, I mean, I'm talking days where I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Like, can't get out of bed, and it's significant pain. It's like this deep aching pain that just is unrelenting. It's not like, it's just like, if this is the pain, it's like, it's not a 10 out of 10, but it's like it's an 8 that never dips. It's just an 8 that stays there. And that's exhausting. There's nothing that will ease it.
Yeah.
I was taking 2,300 milligrams of ibuprofen a day. I was maxing it out every day for a long time.
Yep.
And I was just like, how come nobody, I thought the surgery was going to help. How come nothing how is there no certainty about what's happening? Why is this not getting better? Will it ever get better?
Right.
And I would call the colorectal surgeon. They're like, yeah, this, we don't know when it ends. For some people, it's a month. For some people, they live with it forever. And it's like, well, that's a weird time horizon. Like, how am I supposed to grapple with that in my head? So really, really dark times, even up until this year, even till recently, where I've come back and I'm playing well, but I'm still battling a lot of pain, even right now, day to day. Got diagnosed with Crohn's disease last month, so it was so that's going to be something that I'm going to have to figure out.
Yeah.
So it's I'm able to play. It's basically right now it's pain management where there's some fatigue here and there where some days is worse than others, but all I'm grateful for is that there's a diagnosis.
Yes.
So now there's a treatment plan. Before they don't know what it is. They don't know how to treat you.
100%.
So at least we have a diagnosis and we have a game plan. And I'm going to have to go on these IV infusion meds starting probably next month. But I'm hoping that will help the infection clear out,
nice.
And then the fistula stuff and the abscess and the colorectal stuff will get easier because it's still pretty painful, but it's not slowing me down on court. I'm still able to move. The knee feels strong.
Nice.
Legs feel strong. It's just more of managing the Crohn's.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. And gosh, that caught me off guard because I know that with life, sometimes you can feel like I just paid at the office. I just overcame the thing. Do you remember the thing that or the thing I'm still working? And can we do we're good, right? Did you have a sense of what the F when you got that diagnosis, or did you have a sense that was already there and you finally got a name for it?
Yeah, it wasn't this frustration of now, it was more of I've been dealing with the pain for so long. It had never really gone away since last April. And what is it now? Or almost July. Yeah. So, I mean, talking pain every day. So it was more of a relief to get the diagnosis because it's okay. Now we can find a way through this.
Yes.
And they know how to treat it. So I'm at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville a lot.
Okay.
I have gastroenterologists working with the colorectal team. Blood work, have done a ton of blood work. Probably every panel there is. There's weird, my liver counts are really, really high. So I'm seeing somebody for the liver. Yep. It's just a lot of random stuff.
I get it.
That I don't know where it came from, but there's relief because I have people that are all working together, right?
Nice.
Like with the colorectal people in Austin, it's like they weren't talking to a GI team. Like now it's all kind of coordinated care and, multidisciplinary care where teams are working with each other and like, okay, you do this and then go to the GI people. And so it's relief more than anything, but it's been incredibly frustrating. And I think the biggest thing, like you said, is just uncertainty. Now I have certainty.
Yeah.
Even though there's Crohn's isn't curable, but there's ways to manage it, and ways to where it doesn't have to take over my life like it has the last year.
Yeah.
So the goal now is, try to make life as manageable as possible, even though it's going to be there. I can still manage it and still live, a solid quality of life.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Brilliant. There's Tony Robbins has this great framework about 6 human needs, and 2 of them being certainty and uncertainty.
Yeah.
Too much certainty and you're bored.
Yep.
Too uncertain, you're anxious. And finding I know you guys loved this term on your podcast last episode, balance.
Yeah.
Between the
I hate that word. Who said that, AJ?
I think it was AJ.
Yeah,
he got just
he did. He got
and there was the tangent around double snowmen and
yeah. There's always tangents, but yeah.
No, what? Never.
Tangents.
Never. No. So no, but that, finding that it's like surfing. When it's too big, you're going to die. When it's too slow, it's not fun, right? Like what's the right amount of waves to where you're dropping in and it's challenging, but you're not dying, right?
Yeah.
And I think the game of life follows a similar thing. Like how tolerant am I of uncertainty? And if you're in pickleball, you have to have some level of tolerance to uncertainty.
Yeah.
Because this is an uncertain sport.
100%.
The amount that this sport has changed just since we met.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
We met at the Masters when it was in La Quinta.
Yep.
And that was like the winter of 21. And my God, does that feel like 10 years ago?
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
So much has changed.
It was what, a year and a half?
Yeah, a year and a half. But it's crazy.
No, it's night and day.
Yeah. People are like, I try to explain to people, I say, days are weeks, weeks are months, months are years. So to be off the court for 10 weeks, right? That's like 10 months. I saw my friends yesterday and I was like, how have you been?
Yeah.
How are the kids? Oh, this one graduated. This one's growing hair in their face. Oh my God. It was really that kind of, where have you been?
Totally.
Kind of thing. And it's like, that's it. So uncertainty.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
If I didn't like it, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
That's pickle. What haven't we said about how you've tackled adversity and uncertainty? What haven't we said that we should say? What's been anything else?
I mean,
any books, any practices, any stoicism kind of approaches or thought, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, tattoo, amor fati. I mean, that's a, if you can see it.
Okay.
It's a staple for me. It's a love of one's fate. So it's
a love of one's fate.
Yeah. So
okay. Tell me more.
It's not just being okay with whatever happens to you, but it's not just accepting, but it's actually learning to love it.
Gotcha.
And understanding that it's happening for a reason. And I think looking back over the past year and a half of like what I've gone through, I'm just like, I'm grateful because I look back and I think about the person I was before that, and then like what I've had to endure going through and getting to here. It's like, if you're going through hard stuff, you're growing.
Yes.
You're just like, and if you're not growing, right?
No.
Like if you're not struggling and you're not being uncomfortable, then there's no growth. So, so that, and then also just being like, thinking about just sitting here, being outside, having a conversation and not thinking about pain. It's like, it just makes you grateful.
Yes.
So and even thinking about the knee, thinking back to how miserable it is when you're not able to function like you want to.
Yep.
It's so frustrating. Yep. And then to have times where now you can go out and play mixed doubles and run all over the court and all this stuff. And it's easy to just get frustrated because you didn't play well, but like, slow down, just think about, man, I'm moving and I'm not even thinking about my knee, and like, how cool is that I have full functionality and my body's functioning like I want it to.
Yep.
And I think it's so easy to take that for granted and just to slow down sometimes and be like, wow, remember how bad it was when you couldn't move? Think about it now. You can. And it's
That's
awesome.
useful.
It's super, yeah.
That is useful. I think gratitude is a muscle that needs to be trained. I don't think, from my experience, that it's automated. And so, like, I have a gratitude practice. I have a journal. I'm on my third journal at this point, but I've been doing this practice for about 15 years. I used to do it just in my head. Mm-hmm. And then I had a coach say, write it down, because now you have evidence for when you forget. And so you can just go back and look and be like, look, every single day, the world has conspired to make it great for you.
Yeah.
Every day. And you have a written log of proof. So you can't let that voice of negativity win when you have evidence. Yeah. But that has to be,
it's a muscle.
It's a muscle, right? It has to be developed. And so I think a lot of people would just assume avoid adversity and uncertainty and pain, but it's a useful tool because you can think back, you can reflect. Humans can do two things animals can't. We can envision a future and we can reflect on a past. Yeah. Both of those are really helpful when the present moment isn't what you want. And the other thing I love what you said is getting frustrated on how you played is a different quality of frustration than being frustrated because you can't move.
Oh, it's so different.
Right? So I like the quality of my problems, here,
better,
right? Like I still feel like I can find things to get mad about and frustrated about, but the quality of those are an upgrade.
100%.
And
problems.
I'll take those problems. Yeah. I walked out to the car after yesterday. I played for an hour for the first time and man, my legs were like stilts out on the court. They were so bad. And I was so surprised because I actually did work some of the time on a stationary bike, doing glute work at night. And I thought maybe I had kept some of it. Just kidding. Nope. And as I was walking to the car, every step hurt. And as I got to the car, I was like, oh, I remember this. And I was like, okay, for the last 10 weeks, I had pain from my neck up. And for the 2 years prior, I had pain from my neck, my shoulders down. Yep. And I was like, I like that pain.
Yeah.
I did something at least to earn that pain.
Sore muscle out. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There, I can look back and think of that backhand two-handed roll that I put right through the two of them when they thought I was going to dink. Yep. That was satisfying as all hell. Nobody moved. Exactly. They were frozen on their heels. Oh, that was so pretty. And I had seen Connor Garnett do it in a Instagram post like a month ago while I was lying down unable to move. Yep. And I had just taken a lesson and Connor's local, I'm local, and I've seen him do that shot, and I didn't have it because not tennis. Yep. And I had a lesson right before my injury with my buddy Kevin Pham, Yo Kev, and I was like, "Am I too old? Is it too late?" And he's like, "No, dude, you're an athlete. Yeah. You've got one lesson." I was rolling two E's, and I picked up where I left off, and that was worth all the pain.
Such a good feeling, right?
Going up and down the stairs yesterday and today. I'll take it. It's a better quality problem.
Such a good feeling. Yeah.
I'm glad I asked you about your if there's something else and that you shared your tattoo. Yeah. Because I think there's something also really useful in this, which is your attitude towards stress or adversity. Because there's a ton I do in my clinical work when I'm not here. I do a ton of research and a ton of work on stress and managing it. And one of them is stress can be good for you if you decide it's good for you. Sure. Stress can be bad for you if you decide it's bad for you, but it's really an inside job. Yep. And so if you lean into the stress you're going through, because you used the word, if you're not straining, you're not growing, or however you said it, that's absolutely true. And the literature's really, really strong on this. If you think of the adversity you're going through as something that's strengthening you, your body physically responds differently than if you think of it as something that's going to make things worse. Yeah. Your body will respond in kind. So having a default, a frame that you just think through, like, oh yeah, it's all good for me. Yeah. Everything that is happening for me, not to me, is incredibly powerful. So since we're kind of talking about, the mental side of the game today and adversity and how to deal with it when the chips aren't going your way, the whole reason I did the podcast was my body wasn't behaving the way I wanted to behave from day one. How do I think through that, as well as what are the practices? So that was really cool.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So people can find you online. First of all, they can listen to your podcast.
They can.
One Adam Stone, and they can find that. It Feels Right.
It Feels Right. Yep, and that's on the Dink YouTube page or Apple Podcast, Spotify, all the normal channels.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then we can find Mr. Rob Nunnery. We can find you and follow you.
Instagram's probably the best,
okay.
And that's just at Rob Nunnery, just my name. And then if you want to, you can follow my newsletter, which I haven't posted in a while. But that's just go to robnunnery.com and you can sign up there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. Well, thanks for joining us on Pickleball Recovery.
Thank you, Tim.
Woohoo. Thanks so much for listening. Did you know there's one place on the web for all your recovery needs? It's at www.pickleballrecovery.com. You'll find all the products I personally use and recommend, along with exclusive discounts on many of them, as well as my blog where I help you make sense out of all the different products and practices out there to keep you moving and feeling better so you play better. After all, your body is the most expensive piece of equipment you own. Also, do you want to know the number one mistake picklers make that leads to increased pain, soreness, stiffness, and injury? Just head over to pickleballrecovery.com and download my free guide to playing with less pain and more enjoyment. Listen, pickleball makes us feel young at heart, but not young in body. So go download my free guide at www.pickleballrecovery.com. See you next time.